So let's go ahead and get started. For those of you just joining us, I just want to highlight that this microgrant is intended for groups who are seeking funding for projects that look at the intersection of science and policy. This is not intended to fund individual projects or individual research. So please keep that in mind as we go through this webinar today. So I thought I'd start off by giving a little bit of an overview of Research America. Then we'll talk about the microgrant program itself. And then we'll start with a few commonly asked questions. And after that, we'll turn to the audience for your questions. So as I'm speaking, please feel free to add your questions into the Q&A box or the chat. Some of you might be wondering, what exactly is Research America? This might be the first time you're learning about us. So Research America is an advocacy alliance. What we do is we strive to ensure health and medical research is a national priority. We do this by raising awareness for the benefits of medical research, and we aim to build citizen support for research to find treatments and cures. Now, to raise research as a national priority, what we do is we mobilize public opinions and develop strategies that really encourage and support citizens to have their voices heard by their elected officials. We really believe that civic engagement should be an important part of a scientist's training. And everyone here today, as early career scientists, are able to provide that valuable knowledge and those perspectives that can really contribute to the development of innovative policies that can really drive scientific and medical progress. So I hope this provides a framework for why Research America hosts this program, especially with us now entering our 4th year. So let's move on to the microgrant itself, what you're probably here for. So the Civic Engagement Microgrant Initiative is a program that provides funding for graduate student and postdoc-led groups in order to create dialogue with public officials, local leaders, and the greater community. We also support initiatives that will help you develop your skills in science communication, policy, and advocacy to help create these opportunities for dialogue. So support comes in kind of 2 main ways, as I like to think of it. One is program support. What we do is we provide training in program management and social media outreach. We also provide opportunities to network and also provide opportunities to build your foundational knowledge in public policy and science policy. As grantees, you'll also check in with me via email about once every 2 weeks. You can think of me more of as an accountability buddy. I'm here to support our grantees and help you with whatever you need and just to kind of help you stay on track in general. The second main way that probably drew you in here is that we provide financial support, hence the name Microgrant. So what we do is we are able to provide awards of up to $4,000 for organizations to carry out their proposed programming. The amount that we award is based upon your justification, of course. A little bit more about the microgrant. We have different modules that you can apply for in the application, and it's perfectly fine if your projects and your efforts fall under multiple categories. First and foremost, we have startup funding. So if you're an individual who's really interested in science policy and you want to start a group, or if you have already started a group and are looking for funding for your projects, this category is for you. Funding here is really intended to kind of build your interest in science policy on campus and initiate various programs, and to also help you begin to establish long-term sustainability on your campus. Our second module that you can apply for is called Design Your Own Event. And this is kind of exactly how it sounds. If you have an idea for a program or event or some sort of workshop series, we want to know about it. So some of past events are things such like town halls, thought leader panels. We've supported roundtable discussions, webinar series, workshops, so on and so forth. Our third module are podcasts. So if your group wants to start a science policy related podcast, or if you have an existing podcast and need funds to continue to support your endeavors, you can apply for this module. And funds in this category can be used for things like equipment, advertising, and honorariums for speakers, just to give you some ideas. Last but not least, we have a data visualization category or module. And what this module does is it supports initiatives that really seek to create informational graphics that you can use to communicate science policy topics with your local community and even with your elected officials. And in addition to these modules, you'll see on our website and on the application that we have a track called Science Meets Science. So what this track is it's intended to bring together multiple areas of science. We're specifically trying to recruit and support the role of social scientists in civic engagement. So if you're in psychology, sociology, anthropology, or other areas that are considered to be part of the social sciences, you're encouraged to apply for the Science Meets Science track. What we're doing is we're trying to encourage collaborations between social scientists and other areas of STEM, like bench scientists, engineers, mathematicians. We're also looking at you, anyone in medical school, nursing school, pharmacy school. What's key here is that we really want to support a multidisciplinary approach to civic engagement. All right. So next, I'll touch briefly on some of the expectations of the program. First and foremost, if you're awarded funding, you're expected to carry out your program as approved, of course. You're expected to check in with me about once every 2 weeks, and I'll actually be the one to initiate these emails, so you don't have to worry about that. We just ask that you reply to me. You will be required to fill out a progress report in the middle of the program and also at the end of the program. And then we'll also note that we're providing supplemental training opportunities along the way, and we highly encourage participation in those, of course. Last but not least, we'll also mention that unspent microgrant funds will be returned to Research America. So let's see. We'll move on to the Q&A next. So I hope everyone's ready with your questions. Some of the commonly asked questions that I've had to answer so far, I'll run through briefly. Who is eligible to apply? So we are soliciting applications from early career scientists, and we're defining early career scientists as graduate students. You can be a master's student or a PhD student. And we're also looking at postdocs and medical students or other professional level students like nursing and pharmacy who are involved in science policy organizations or want to start one on your campus. I've also been asked, can this be used to pay for your tuition? So the answer is no. Just to kind of reiterate what I've mentioned before, these grants are awarded to groups of students who want to look at civic engagement and science policy. These are not intended to support individual students through tuition or through research costs. And that actually leads me to the next question is, can you use this microgrant to pay for your dissertation project? And the answer there is no as well. So, all All right, I see in the chat we have been asked, can you provide examples of previous projects? Sure. So we have a number of projects that we've funded in the past. We've had, just in this past cycle, we've had 2 different groups create podcast series. One looking at the intersection of science and policy. This is the group from Rockefeller, Weill Cornell, and Memorial Sloan Kettering. Their podcast is called Politics Under the Microscope, in case anyone wants to check that out. We have another group at the University of South Florida who also created a podcast series called The World Has Changed, Environmental Health, Climate Change, and Advocacy to Improve Health, and in both of these groups, they conducted interviews with some of their local leaders to talk about topics related to, well, the episode topics that they were focused on. Other projects that we've had flipped science fairs where communities were invited to talk to graduate students and postdocs on campus about their research. We've also had groups that have held science policy memo writing workshops and competitions. We've had groups that have created workshop series that go through various topics like exploring science policy careers, learning how to engage with the public, how to engage with lawmakers. Let's see, and yeah. Those are just a few projects, to name a few. All right, I see we have another question in the chat. What is the time frame for the project start to end? So we intend to, once applications close, we will be reviewing them through the end of October, and we hope to start the program in November, which means that we will let you know if your group has been selected for the microgrant. After that, we'll go through kind of the paperwork with our grant agreements, and then the programming will start. The program will end May, I want to say May, I'll have to double check. I believe it's May 20th. And so you'll have kind of the tail end of the fall semester and then your entire spring semester to execute your program. So hopefully that will be plenty of time to conduct the projects that you're proposing for this microgrant. How many microgrants will be awarded? That's a great question. So in this past cycle, we awarded 19 microgrants. We actually can't give an exact number because the microgrants the funding levels all vary from project to project. So some projects will be awarded $1,000 and some will be awarded more. So I actually can't say for sure. But I hope that by telling you that we supported 19 groups last year, that gives you a rough idea of how many projects we expect to be supporting. I see we have a question in the Q&A box. Can funds be used to pay for food at events or for publicizing events? Yes, we do support that. And another question here, must it only be podcasts? Can you do YouTube videos? Jenny, you know, I think this is a unique one that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any medium that you feel is going to be effective in communicating to the public and to local officials, policymakers, et cetera, we would certainly support that.
Thanks, Jenny.
Sophia, I'm happy to stay on in case you want to kick any other questions to me.
All right. Let's see. I see in the chat here, we've been asked how many applications we usually receive. I know this past year, we received 50. So this is actually a pretty competitive process. But we are happy to review all of the applications that come in. So please, please, please apply. And if you have questions, ask me now. Feel free to follow up with me later via email. And I see we have more questions in the Q&A box that are centered on application tips. So tip number 1 would be to review the rubric, because that is what we will be evaluating your microgrants on, your microgrant application on. I think, Jenny, what have you seen in the past with successful microgrant applications?
I think something that's well defined, that is going to bring in, a group of students, and that is going to perhaps take you off campus, either virtually or in person, to really interact with the local community and local policymakers. And when we say local, it could be your congressman, but it may also be members of your city council, or folks in your mayor's office. So that's really up to you to decide. But it's really giving you the opportunity to have those important exchanges, where you're learning more about how the policy process works, and they're learning more about what early career scientists, have to offer.
Thank you, Jenny.
Do you want me to take a few of these? Wow, lots of questions. Sure. What we'll do is we'll actually screenshot these and we can get back to people. I think that's going to be possible, but let's see, we already answered time frame. How many? Let's see, Sophia, we have this one. For the Science Meets Science track, are applicants set up into pairs, or will we need to find? You would need, we would encourage you to find your own groups, on campus. That's how we've done it in the past, or it could be on another campus, for Science Meets Science. If you're having trouble, we can certainly, provide some strategic advice to help you along. For example, last year we got several applications from one university, and we brought everybody together for one project. They are from different departments. Must all applicants of the plan group be from the same institution? We did fund last year. We funded an early career science group that's part of a broader science society group. The key thing is you have to have a fiscal sponsor. So we're certainly not, we would be open to something that was across different institutions, but you would just need one fiscal sponsor. Email best contact. Sophia, you'll put that in. If you're an existing science policy group looking to start a new subgroup, would it be possible to apply for startup funding? Yes, if you can explain why there's a need for this other group. And, particularly on large campuses, it's not unheard of to have, different groups that are, of early career scientists focused on, community and policymaker engagement. Sophia, I'm talking too much. I'm going to turn it back to you. Sophia, I just want to say she joined us a number of months ago, but really came towards the end of the program. So that's why I'm just providing a little support here. But she is definitely the one in charge.
Thanks, Jenny. I see we have a question in the Q&A box asking about a previously funded data visualization project. So one of the projects that comes to my mind is one that we hosted at Baylor College of Medicine. Students there use the microgrant funds to pay for coding courses that they took online, and they worked through these coding courses together. And after they completed that, they took publicly available data and used their coding skills to process and analyze that data. After that, what they did was they taught themselves how to create infographics and created these beautiful infographics looking at various topics. I remember one of them was COVID-19 related in the Houston area. And those were really spectacular and very informative. So that's just one example of data visualization. Let's see. All right, in the design your own event category, should the application cover perhaps only one workshop series or a single application requesting to cover multiple initiatives? So this is completely up to you. We've had groups in the past create a workshop series for their project. We've also had another group that created multiple types of events. So one of them, I think, was I believe a policy memo competition, and then a few months later, they hosted a different type of event. Oh, it was a data visualization competition and then a policy memo competition. So you can have multiple types of events in one application. I guess my recommendation there would be to tell us a cohesive story, tell us the bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish. If you are trying to apply for funding for or trying to support multiple types of events. Then for the contact for the application, we don't need every single person's email in the application. We just need the email of the leader or the person who would be corresponding with me for the microgrant. And then let's see, we have a PhD student in education. If they involve graduate students from the College of Sciences and Engineering, do their names need to be on the application? No, you do not need to list names specifically, but mention where these other students are coming from, what departments they're in, and that'll help tie together this Science Meets Science track just to help us keep focus on what kind of projects you're working on and who's being involved.
Sophia, I've been typing. If you've heard me typing, I've been trying to help you answer questions, but
Thank you.
There was one question that came in on the Q&A, in the Q&A box, that it would be good to get a little bit more background. So the question is, for the create an event module, could the event be used to commemorate a science policy initiative? Could you say a little bit more about that? And then we could hopefully answer your question. Feel free to go off chat and feel free to go off mute. Or you can email Sophia. And one thing I just wanted to add is that we'll be making the decisions by the end of October. You're certainly free to start your program, your efforts, prior to receiving the funding. But that's really up to you. You'll get a document to sign. And we have had some issues with universities being slow in releasing funds. So we are going to be working with you and your university at the front end to make sure we have really great contact information with your fiscal sponsor's office so that we can get you that funding as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Jenny. See, I think if you'd like, there should be a raise hand function at the bottom of your screen if you would like to speak. I should be able to give you control of the microphone if this person is still here.
I think it's Alini. Alini, can you, I think Sophia, I think you have to unmute her. Alina, sorry.
Oh, she says it's not her.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, right. She
Okay,
said it
I
wasn't her
see.
question. All right.
Um,
Sophia, while you're working on that, I also just wanted to say that, this is the 4th year that Research America has offered this program. And we're really creating a wonderful network of our micrograntees and have involved them in some terrific programs. Our forum, we had an early career workshop day, and we had a lot of our grantees attended that. So it also just brings you into the kind of the wider Research America world. And even though as an organization, we're focused on medical and health funding, I just want to be perfectly clear that these projects really are all across the sciences. So this is one area where we are very much, all science.
I saw someone had briefly raised their hand and then lowered it. To that person, if you're still here, please raise your hand again and I will allow you to speak and ask your question. Okay, I see. All right, I look forward to your email. Let's see. Okay, we have another question. The difference between, asking about the difference between the design your own activity and the science meets science. Design your own activity. To answer your, or Jenny, do you want to take this one or?
Sure.
Okay.
We don't want to get too tied up in, names and categories, but the science meets science. The purpose there is to bring together different disciplines together and working on one project, and particularly the social sciences like economics, communications, psychology, working with the more traditional STEM. So that's science meets science. The design your own activity can be a science meets science project. It can be, that really just gives you the freedom to design the kind of program that you would like to design, if that makes sense. So they're not mutually exclusive. And so if I had read your question properly, I would have said yes. The only difference is that science meets science is interdisciplinary. Great questions, everybody. And please reach out with any help as you put together your applications.
We have a question in the chat for Science Meets Science. Can we bring together disciplines, even if our organizers are not sociologists or etc., but are inviting them as part of the event? Absolutely. If you're involving different areas of scientists or different areas of sciences, please note that in your application. They don't necessarily have to be part of the organizing team. We have another question here. What can funds be used for? That's a very broad question. I mean, funds can be used to support, so you'll have to justify what you'll be spending this money on, of course. They can be used to pay for honorariums for workshop speakers or for other speakers that you're bringing in. They can be used for material supplies if you're having in-person events. They can be used, we've had micrograntees pay for websites, subscriptions to courses for coding and things like that. We're very open to what funds can be used for as long as it can be justified. Do you have anything to add there, Jenny?
Just that while we would love to be able to provide stipends for students, we just can't. That's the foundation that provides this funding does not allow that. So as Sophia said, it really is for these other categories. But you can use the funds for little prizes, gifts, gift cards, incentives for people to attend an event, or an op-ed writing contest. Your winners can receive gift cards. So you can exchange funding that way, but not in terms of any type of a stipend. And will you be doing this again next year? We hope so. We will be, renewing our grant. We hope so, but not guaranteed. What about funds for services like video, audio editing? Yes, your grant money can be used for that.
Does anyone have any questions that we possibly missed in the chat? If we didn't get to them, please ask them again.
And I'll just note, someone said, the timing is off for me this year. You can also wait and start your project, next semester. So there's no requirement that you begin your project, in November. There is generally enough time to do it in one semester. We like to give people, though, some running room to get things set up, in the late fall and early winter. But if you want to apply this semester, but really get it going in January, and you think you can get it done, by the end of May, that's fine.
All right, I think it looks like there are no further questions. So thank you everyone for attending, and we are delighted that there's so much interest in the microgrant program. As always, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll type in my email address again, microgrants@researchamerica.org. So please direct your questions there, and I will be happy to chat with you more there. I see we have another question on the name of the organization that applying, would you put in the department? So I think that really just depends. Some of our student groups have names. If not, I think a department would be fine. What would you say, Jenny?
Yeah, that's fine. I think the key thing is that you're working with other students. So if you don't already have a science policy group that has a name, it could just be the, UCSF science policy group. But if there isn't a group like that on campus, and or there is one, but you want to start another effort, the key thing is that you have other people involved and that you can demonstrate that, in your grant. So it's fine to put your department as long as you're able to demonstrate in your application that it's a group effort.
All right, well, we'll say this is one last question in the Q&A box. Can grants be used to make events better, such as entertainment, like musicians, for an event that helps engage the community?
Yeah, I would say so. Within a, yeah. I mean, if it's a way to draw people in to an event, which is, in keeping with the goals of the program, I think we would definitely be open to that. And that's the kind of thing that you can put in your budget. We can take a look at it that way, but there are no rules that would prevent that.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. Like I said, please feel free to reach out to me at microgrants@researchamerica.org with any additional questions. And I look forward to seeing all of your applications. Great,
We
take
sure
care.
do. Thank you.